Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we're super excited because we had the epic finale of The Way Home season 2. And we're here to talk about it. And we want your comments in the comments because there's so much going on in this show. Nobody can see everything. Nobody can get everything. And so we need your comments to help us to catch everything going on. But we're gonna do our best to talk about this finale. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Kristen Maldonado is here.
Woo! I'm so
Yes.
excited to talk about this. I don't even know. This is the craziest season finale I've seen in a while, I feel
Yeah,
like.
it really was. And to be frank, I think they kind of needed it because
Mhm.
I think it's been a bit of an uneven season.
I agree.
And I really think they kind of needed this like boom, to kind of end it off and leave people feeling like really positive.
They threw everything at us.
Yeah, they really did.
I literally was like, who can I talk about this with? Like, this is
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, because you and I got the screener link on the same day, and we both had time to watch because a lot of times I don't, and we were just like, "What?"
Mhm.
I was like,
Yeah.
"You have to come on the recap because there would
Yes.
be nobody else."
Yes. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I mean, do you agree though in what I'm saying about the season that it's been a bit uneven?
Absolutely. I feel like the first four episodes, I was like hooked. And then after that, I think things have been a bit slow. And like you'll
Mm-hmm.
get some reveals, but like I think especially like to me the stuff that was going on in 1814 was so interesting, but they were
Yeah.
really dragging it out. I think there was like what, three episodes in a row before we like actually got to see Kat and Jacob really talk. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
come on.
They
Like,
really that scene by the beach was really stretched out. It's like, okay,
yeah.
what is she gonna actually talk to him?
Yeah, and even the like the big reveal of oh there's another family secret between like Kat and Dell of like why they've been so distant from each
Mm-hmm.
other. I thought it was not quite as strong
Mm-hmm.
as it could have been. Like it felt
Yeah.
like they were trying to make everyone so likable that like it just didn't have the impact. But so I'm
Yeah.
excited now that like this finale I think made up for like the weaker parts.
Yeah. I think
Like
it did too. But my biggest problem with the season has been pretty much everything in 2024 has been fairly frustrating because like the problem is that we just keep having the same conversations over and over and over and over again, and so it's not compelling. When how many times are we going to have this conversation with Kat and Elliot about what the curse of time travel in his life, and it, particularly with Elliot, it has just made his character very unlikable, and we needed, I think, this episode of him to actually be kind of empowered as a character, so he's not just kind of standing around complaining. and uh
yeah.
and and so
I agree with
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I feel like at some points he kind of started just feeling like a professor, like just like we're coming to him to like analyze things like that. Like I
Yeah.
was losing even like the romantic interest. I'm like,
The humanity.
that's got chemistry with everybody else,
Well,
you
and
know?
it's hard too because when she has Thomas, which has huge chemistry, in my opinion, at least, huge
Mhm.
chemistry with, and in 1814, and then come back to Elliot, who's the whiny, annoying baby,
I
you're
was
like,
like, even
what?
Susanna, I was like, I see it,
Yeah,
like I see it, and I
it's
feel like
true.
Dell's story too, like nothing's
Yeah.
really happening
Dell
there.
has been a complete waste this season, even with this finale. I think that it's just a problem because since she doesn't know about the pond, or at least we have gotten no hints that she knows about the pond, then it just leaves her on the outside of all the stories. And so she's just a really flat character. And yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah. I hope that like I mean they've already confirmed the season three, so I'm excited about that. But I think they need to do more like bringing Dell in. Maybe this finale brings up some stuff that could lead to maybe hopefully Dell having a bigger arc in
Yeah.
season three. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely been a bit like nothing's really happening.
Because
I wish that
nobody
she had
cares
like
about Sam.
yeah, I don't care
Like,
about Sam.
what? Like, this is, it's like, I mean, there's been a couple good moments between her and Colton,
Mm,
most flashbacks and stuff, but yeah, she's been basically like a total waste this whole season.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's interesting. I mean, it's hard because that first season was so good, and it's like, how do you match it with the second season, and not just be kind of plot building and uh
I'm,
for me it was just like the 1814 stuff was so much better than anything else in, especially, I mean, anything else especially in present day. And like anything honestly with Alice was just way, I was just way more interested in Kat and Susanna and Thomas and Jacob and everything going on in 1814.
I was interested in what was going on with Kat, and I think that if they had made, sorry, Alice, I was interested in the mystery that Alice was going on, but I
Mm-hmm.
think if they had made that big moment of like what this big secret had been between Kat and Dell bigger and more
Yeah.
explosive, then I would have been like, oh, that was the arc she was going on. Like now we had this big, awesome, you know,
Yeah, it's
reveal.
true because you hear all about this Linglarmore party,
Yeah.
and that was episode 8, and yeah, it was like, what? That was it? That was it?
Yeah.
I mean, Alice has reason to be mad at Elliot. I get that,
I didn't
but
think there
I
was any
didn't
reason for her to
believe.
hate Kat or Dell. Like I didn't,
Yeah, I didn't
and she
believe
didn't.
Vidal would say that about. I wish it had been. I wish it had been you, not Jacob. And like,
But she
I
didn't
didn't.
really say that, I guess. She just said Jacob should be the one here to like save the land. She said it in a way that I was like waiting for her to be like, it should have been you. But like she didn't
Yeah,
say that. And so then I was like, this is kind of like give us that moment. Like say it should have been
yeah.
you so that I can be like mad. I
If it
think
was
that
that bad to keep them
yeah.
apart that long,
Yeah.
seems unlikely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
So yeah, so the in this finale, it starts out with Kat in 1814 trying to tell Thomas that he's going to be shot.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a pretty dramatic moment. It will be Cyrus Goodwin who pulls the trigger. And he says he was never going to let Jacob live. Your brother and I had wronged him in too many ways. I offered myself up in trade. If I run, Jacob dies. And so how do you feel about Thomas? Are you on the Thomas train?
Not really. I'm on the Susanna train.
Oh,
Thomas is cool, but I just feel like she has chemistry with everyone. And I think
yeah,
that's just the testament to Skylar Lee. She really commits to everything. I feel like everything I've ever watched her in, she really goes there and like she really
yeah,
like feels the emotions and like becomes her characters. And so it was
true.
still like an emotional moment when like he's like, no, I got this, like don't look, like go. But
Yeah.
but I was also like, Susanna, man.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've just seen more friendship with Susanna, but yeah, I mean, I like that friendship, and I mean, he's like that actor playing Thomas. Oh my gosh, he's one of the most handsome men I've ever seen in my life. I do really like him as an actor, but he's just such a man. Like he's very, he does it for
So
me.
badly.
He's so brave, and he's so like, and I mean that scene where he's carrying her out of the ocean, like a
Mhm.
couple episodes ago, that was so like woo
You know,
for me.
I think it was like there was that moment with Susanna where I don't know, they were like holding hands and like talking about like what the future would have been like if she could go to, modern day and how her life would have been different. And I don't just there was something that felt so
Huh.
romantic about that
Yeah, I
between
didn't
them.
even think of it, but you're not
Yeah.
wrong. Yeah, I can see that. Huh. They do have a nice chemistry. That's
They do.
true.
She has chemistry with
Yeah.
everyone, I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's true. And he says, I have one last confession to make. I didn't mean to shoot you. I was aiming at Cyrus. And he says, if you had killed him instead of shooting me, everyone would be safe. This is all my fault. I would and then he says, I would never fault you for emerging into my life. Swoon. That was good. I mean, it's an interesting point because so basically, like, he was going to shoot Cyrus, but he ends up shooting her. I mean, Cyrus was near the pond or something, or he missed, or what was going on? Like, she distracted him,
Right? I'm not
I
sure.
guess.
Maybe,
And because
maybe her
Cyrus wasn't
appearing
in the
as
pond. Cyrus isn't a time traveler. He's a what's his name, not a
a
Landry.
good win, right?
Goodwin, yeah.
I was like, okay, every time we've seen like this mysterious little like man in the future, like the few little shadowy moments we've gotten of that, I did think like, is this Cyrus good? But
Yeah.
obviously, well, as we get to the end of this discussion,
Yes.
we'll find out I'm wrong. But
Yeah.
but I was like, because it kind of came off a little bit sinister.
Mhm.
I thought maybe that was just to trick us.
Yeah. But it was a great scene. The actors killed it. And this is all my fault. I would never fault you for emerging into my life. And then he gives her these coins. It says something to remember me by. And then they have a big kiss. I was like, whoa.
I was
Yeah.
confused about the coins at first, but I mean, I guess it makes sense. I was surprised she could take them with her.
Yeah. I mean, because let's see. What has she taken with her from
But that
well,
was the key from
key?
modern day
That's
came
right.
from the past already. But
Yeah.
she couldn't take like medicine. Remember,
Yeah. She tried that.
she couldn't take Susanna back. So it's like we're slowly
Hmm.
piecing together
Yeah. The
what can take,
rules of the
what
pond
cannot.
are a little confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so then Thomas is shot. She hears it. Oh, I was like, oh
Hmm.
no. And then in her like press office, that same gun is there in the press office, and she hides it. And so, I mean, how invested do you think at this point she is in Thomas? Like, how invested do you think she is in 1814?
I think she's pretty invested. I feel
Yeah.
like these are like her new friends. I had spoken to her and Evan at the beginning of the season just about like what it was like going back to 1814 and like her thoughts. And she was like, at first I was like, but what about all my friends? Like
Yeah.
I like my current friends in the 2024 and the 90s. So like, what is it gonna be like going to 1814? And she was like, and then we sort of had like, this new family that was built. And so yeah, I think it's just like, new friends and new faces and um,
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm a little confused because well, we'll get to the end, but like, that I'm not sure, who is it that she really loves, like romantically, but like I think that she definitely has formed a strong bond and like a lot of these people are her family, like even going all the way back like legacy wise,
Yeah.
she's met like all these, the great grandfather or whatever it would be to the Landrys. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she's torn, but I mean, and then she knows she can't stay in 1814. She can't
Mhm.
outlander it because she has a daughter.
Do you think Alice would ever be able to go to 1814?
I mean, I don't see why not. I
How
mean,
come
but
she
it's just the
has it?
pawn doesn't seem to take her there.
Yeah, because Kat went to the 90s with her, so I'm
Hmm.
like, how come Alice can't go?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. So then we have just some little scenes where like everybody is coming to that coffee house. It was like one person after another, after another, after another. It
It
was
was
kind
starting
of
to get like
funny.
it was a little awkward. That one girl just like
Yeah.
appeared and was like, "Bye,
Yeah. So
Casey."
because Noah's there and he's kind of like flirty.
Hmm.
And then Casey is there. And they haven't done much with Casey this season.
Hmm.
They haven't been utilized very much as I thought when they first introduced them
Hmm.
onto the show. I thought it was going to be more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we have some scenes between Sam and Dell about Stormy. And am I going to get over this silent treatment?
And I'm just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
let's go to the next
No, nobody cares
nobody
about
cares.
Sam.
Yeah. I just don't. I mean, kudos to them for doing like a romance story for like an older woman, like great. But I feel like all of it ends up still coming down to like, I'm still not over my husband that died decades ago,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's like, I wish that they would give her something else to do. Like, I guess this season is sort of like, we gotta save the farm and save the land, but like, she also won't take anybody's money. She won't take it. And it's like, how are we supposed to do this if you won't accept any assistance?
Yeah. 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 It's just not compelling. So then we find out so Alice comes back to Linglarmore a year or she comes so Alice comes back a year after Linglarmore. So she's there in 2008
Mhm.
and she sees this whole thing happen with Teen Cat apologizing to Elliot.
Mhm.
And Teen Cat says, "I want to fix things with you and my mom." And this is, I'm sorry, Poor Haven doesn't freeze in time until Cat Landry decides to come back.
True. Mm.
Yeah.
But I also think it's a little bit Elliot just being bitter. Elliot, like you don't have to listen to what they say. Like, do what you want. Like, nobody's.
Yeah, just live your own life. Like,
It's gonna what's gonna happen is gonna happen regardless. So just like do what you want.
yeah. And so then we have Elliot. She says, "You are going to be an incredible mother. She's going to grow up to not just be your daughter, but your best friend." And so that helps, like, because Alice is obviously still mad at Elliot for trying to erase her. And he
But
tells,
really, everything happened. Like they've never changed anything, right? So like that happened then too. Regardless, I
mm-hmm,
think.
Alice and Brady, they need you. And so Alice sees this because basically Teen Elliot was trying to convince Kat to not go with Brady. But that would erase Alice. So, and that's why she was mad at him.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I almost wish that they would introduce another love interest for Elliot just to make him more of like an interesting character and not so dependent on what's going on with the women for everything in his story. Like I just maybe even not a love interest, but just something that's just his story all alone.
Yeah, yeah. I think him and Dell need that. Like they need their own
Yeah.
thing to do so that they can like, come in when needed, but also have their own story.
Yeah.
I was also gonna say I feel like I would love to see them do some kind of like sliding doors episode where like we see like what if Kat had gone with
To London.
Elliot, like
Yeah.
or
That
gone
would
to
be
London,
good.
what would have happened and like maybe showing that like this is why things have to go the way that they've always gone. Like if there
Yeah.
was some sort of like, I don't know, dream sequence episode or something like
Yeah.
that would be cool.
So then Teen Cat gives Vic the plane ticket for Dell. This
Mhm.
is Elliot's dad.
Mhm.
And I don't believe that she would do that. I don't think that, I mean, she knows he's not a good guy, right? Like, I don't understand why
Well,
she did that.
I don't think she really does because I feel like Elliot, we've seen, has like tried to hide how much his dad kind of
Mm-hmm.
sucks to everyone,
Yeah.
but like specifically to her. Like I remember there was one episode where like Alice was like, "Oh, wait, like does Kat know about this?" And he's like, "No, I like keep my home life private
Mm-hmm.
from Kat. I don't want her to know." But also like, why didn't she just put it in the mailbox in her mom's house? Like I don't know, like that also didn't make sense to me, where I'm like, why would you give that to this guy? Do you think that he purposely didn't give it to her, or you think he just like forgot? Because he
I
was
think he purposely didn't give it to her. Yeah, I
mm,
mean, he says Landry asking us for favors again.
mm.
Like he had no intention
Why
of.
didn't she just put it in the mailbox?
I don't understand. Yeah, why didn't she just?
Like
I
slip it
don't
under the
know.
door to her own house.
Yeah,
Like you
exactly.
have a key, like put it on the table. I don't know. I think
hmm And
there's
of
a lot
course,
of
it's still there all these years later.
shows how much
Of
they don't clean
course.
out their junk drawers.
Yeah, really.
Like decades later, here's the same letter still here.
Yeah, it's like, Elliot, why didn't you like retrieve it? Like, why didn't you?
Well, I
I
guess
don't
he
know.
left, but maybe he forgot. But still, also
Still,
this is all on Kat. Like, why are you making other people do your
yeah,
jobs for you? Like, she should have just called her mom on the
she
phone.
should have for sure. But anyway, and so they have this whole thing with Alice hugging Elliot. This is for 2008 and telling mom she's a good parent and helping her see that. So there we go. They made up.
Yeah, that was nice.
So he's keeping this whole book about chronicling Alice's time travel. And he has
Every
a thing
time it comes up, I pause and I'm trying to read
yeah,
everything that
the
he's
fin
written.
factor, the
Yeah.
fin factor. And so he figures out, he says, the pond won't bring you forward from your timeline into the future, but it can bring you back from your existing one. The pond is all about reflection, looking back and learning. And so he gets this idea that if he goes back to with a Landry and goes back to a time that he's been in, then it will let him just for him, just for and did you kind of get what was going on with that?
I was confused, I think. I have to think about it a lot more. Maybe we can break it down now. So like he was able to do it only because he existed in that timeline. But
Yeah, that's
also
what he
like
said.
but like when he
That's why
time
Susanna
traveled,
couldn't go.
because she didn't well, but that was the future. So could she have gone to the past with her?
Yes.
But how come then that didn't do that?
I don't know because I mean, maybe does the pond know where you want it to take you? I mean,
But
I guess.
But then the other thing is, every time Alice has gone back, she's still moving forward in time. So why would it take her and Elliot now to a time she already existed, like she already seen with like the
hmm
summer fireworks?
Yeah.
We've never seen that happen before. Like Alice has never gone back to a past thing that she already saw in the past. She's only gone to like, okay, now we're in 28, 2008, 2009, like. So why would that do that? That doesn't make sense to me.
Was it at the beginning? Did she not go back to 2007 multiple times?
Well, that's the thing is she did go back, but she never went further back. Like she never went to like 1999 and then 1998 or went to 2007 and then back. She would just like the time was still moving forward. So she
Uh-huh.
was in
It was always a different
2007.
day.
Yeah, it was like 2007, maybe January, but then she'd be back like, February or like February 3rd and then February 10th. She never went
Yeah.
back again. So I didn't get that. That lost me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because then could she choose
Yeah.
when she wanted to go back to?
And
And
and Alice says, "What if this is a gift I could give you?"
I was glad that he went because then he finally could like stop being rude to Kat about like
Yeah.
why she was so angry, why he was like so angry about everything. I think he was able to understand her more,
hmm
which I was glad about that. But yeah, that time travel thing, I think they need to clarify what that really means.
Yeah.
So then you're saying then that Kat could time travel we could go back to when,
Yeah, I
any of
think
those times we could go back to when the dad died or to when Jacob disappeared again, but that doesn't seem like it makes sense. I thought we're moving forward, so we shouldn't be able to do that.
well, it does make you wonder, like, could Kat go with Susanna to 1790 when Jacob first went, in the pond?
We're totally gonna do that. See, that's cool though. But then, right, once she's done that, like that time frame, she'll keep moving forward. You know what I mean? Like,
Uh-huh. Because the pond hasn't always taken even the Landrys. Like that one time when Alice almost drowned when they were
Oh, yeah.
trying to go.
Well, didn't she go to the 90s that day though?
I thought there was one time when they didn't take him anywhere. It didn't work.
Well, there have been times where it didn't go anywhere. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
And they're like, "Oh, it won't take me," and it's like, well, it's not your time right now.
and yeah, and Alice, and then they were like, well, we better not go anymore because you almost drowned at
True.
that time. Yeah. But I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad because I think it'll be better for this character, but it was a little confusing with the lore.
Yeah.
I
I want
like,
a book about
what?
the lore. Like, I need to know. I need to be explained everything.
Well, I'm working really hard to have Heather Conkle on the pod. And believe me, we will, she's the writer, showrunner. We will dive deep into all of this as much as she will tell us, without spoilers for the new season, of course. But
yeah. But like, so when they
it's
did
going to
time travel
happen.
though, I felt like they should have, when Elliot and Alice went, I felt like it should have brought them to after he already spoke with Kat, after Linglarmore, after the dad, after she
With
gave
the
the dad
ticket.
the ticket. That's when it should have brought them to somewhere after that.
But
So
the pawn takes you where what you need, and he needed to see Colton.
So do you think then that the only reason they were able to go back to then was because it was Elliot with her and it was Elliot's choice that took them, not her? Like if it was, oh,
Yeah, he
that could be
needed
something.
that. He
But
needed to.
now that he did that though, he can't go back further than that. Like he can't go back like, no, I guess he could because he hasn't seen any of those things.
Yeah, I mean, I
So that
guess
could
he
be the trick of
could,
how to
but
go back.
would the pawn say that he needs it? The pawn gives you what you need.
Yeah, that's true.
So would he need that? I don't know.
We'd like to take a second to thank our sponsor of this episode of the podcast. It's Love in Tandem by Becca Kinzer. This hilarious fake relationship road trip rom-com is one you won't want to miss this spring. Charlotte is perfectly content leading her quiet life as a music teacher in her hometown. But then she gets roped into a 500-mile tandem bicycle challenge to fundraise for her music program. And her partner is her ex-fiance's adventure-loving brother, Zach. And the whole town just happens to think they're dating. What could go wrong? Plenty, it turns out. As Charlotte and Zach navigate the literal and figurative bumps in the road, together they'll realize tandem biking might just be the start of their biggest adventure yet. Love in Tandem is the perfect book for readers who enjoy witty banter and will they, won't they chemistry. You can find this laugh-out-loud new romance from Becca Kinzer wherever you buy your books and learn more about Becca at beccakinzer.com. That's beccakinzer.com or use the affiliate link below.
It was a very sweet scene with Colton putting up the lights to help Elliot and Elliot there and like I think that if my like father figure had passed away or my father had passed away and then I saw him again, I don't think I could hold it together like Elliot does.
I would tell him everything.
Yeah, I just think I would just lose it.
Well, especially once we find out.
But he keeps his composure pretty good in considering the situation, and it was very sweet. But it definitely I've had suspicions all along that Colton was a time traveler, and I pretty much as soon as he recognized Kat when in the accident he says, "Oh, my cat," I was like, "Oh, he's a time traveler."
I thought that maybe it was like I'm dying, this is my like little gift I get of like recognizing her. But yeah, I guess you're right. Maybe they've been setting it up this whole time.
Well, I've had my suspicions. And when he is just so like loving and kind, and I was like, oh, he totally, it's like, I don't know, just the way that he was acting
You think
in
he knew
this
that was
scene.
Elliot? Oh,
Yes.
I didn't know that
He
was
totally knew that was Elliot. There was not a doubt in my mind that he totally knew that was future Elliot. Yeah.
It was nice to know then that like Elliot helped him make the lights set up for himself, like
yeah.
Like that was a really nice full circle little moment of bonding.
It was very sweet. And one of the things in narratives that almost always works for me is like the theme of kind of regrets and getting a chance to do things over again. Like it, even though I'm not somebody who has like major regrets, I don't know, there's something about that that's like really moving to get like a second chance to like say the thing that you wish you could have said or do the thing that you wish you could have done. I think that almost always works for me in a narrative. And for Elliot to kind of have this moment with Colton, and because he's not his child, but to be able to tell him like how much he loved him was just very moving and sweet, I thought.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he didn't say those words, but it was clear, through
Yeah, totally. But then the minute this happened, I was like, so take Dell back. We can clearly take her back now. We figured out a loophole.
Yeah.
Go with somebody, jump in the pond.
Yeah. I completely agree. And I mean, and once we get to the ending, I feel like there will be no question of taking, like, once she sees Jacob, I mean, of course she's going to want to go back.
I don't know. Sometimes she'll probably figure out a way to make it complicated to not.
Probably.
Just go.
And so Colton, kids need their own space, and his home life is kind of rough. His dad can be hard on him. Oh, and I just want to cherish this last year together. And don't forget to take a camera so you can remember it all. It was just all very sweet. And
I would have spoken up. It's like almost like that or like that scene in Back to the Future where like Marty wants to tell Doc.
Yeah, write the letter.
Like, writes the letter. Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't be able to shut my mouth. I would immediately tell them everything.
I would be inconsolable. There's no way. And so then Kat sees this inscription on the painting that matches I mean, she sees this on Susanna's grave.
Oh yeah, Kat at the grave.
Yeah, so she sees this thing, this star, this sun thing, and it's also on the painting and on the fireplace.
My Catherine, I'm the rose. It's there.
That's true. I mean, I guess I just didn't even think of it being like a relationship, but
I think,
yeah, it could. This is new Hallmark, so why not?
Like my Catherine, there's the star, the sun there, the sun on the grave. Like, I think that, I mean, and everyone immediately, right, was like, my Catherine, oh, it's that guy painted that. They're in love. Same. Why not, Susanna? I think that there could be something there for sure.
Hey. So inside the fireplace is Susanna's book. And so they're saying that a woman at that time couldn't get a book published under their name. And this was right when Jane Austen was publishing. But I mean, I'm not sure when were the Brontes? That was later, I think. Some women, there were women that, I mean, this was also a little bit later. So this has been like the 1850s, but you had the publishing under male names like George Eliot, for instance. So there were some female authors, but not many. But anyway, so there's this book. And so Kat says she's going to try to publish Susanna's book.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that was cute.
Yeah, it almost like, like it reminded me sort of like when people found like Anne Frank's book and wanted to publish it and tell her story. And now like you get to take, Susanna's life story and like all the things that they dealt with in 1814 and like be able to finally share it with the world and like reveal the truth about, is it the truth about the Goodwin family and all this stuff and like and the true origins of creating Port Haven, right?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I haven't paid attention to what the book's actually about.
I think that's what it is. And then they also had Jacob's story that they ripped out. That's part of that as well. Okay. And like the Landry origins. And I think all of that honestly ties back really seamlessly to what Katz wanted to do with her like side story of like she wanted to publish a book and she wanted to tell her family's legacy, and now she can sort of do that and start with Susanna's story and Jacob's story and then, continue on.
Because the Brontes, that would have been in the 1840s, I think. And then Jane Austen, her first book was published in 1811. So this was right right around
Yeah.
1814. So, that would have been happening in England, not in America. But yeah, so that's going to be interesting to see what happens with the book. And he says that tell our story in your time that I couldn't tell in mine.
And then it's like yours forever. Yours forever.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. I know I have old Hallmark eyes, so I didn't even think of that. It's terrible. Yeah. So then
But also that's crazy because that's like Elliot's ancestor.
Yeah.
It's like, forget about you, Elliot. We're gonna go with your ancestors.
I'm still loving Thomas too, so I don't know what's going on. There's just so much love for Kat. Everyone loves Kat.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone loves Kat. But it's really just, I mean, that actor, I just love him. He is so good looking in my opinion, and talented.
Mm-hmm.
Very talented. A whole scene with Elliot and Alice watch everything going on around the campfire in 1999, and they see young Jacob and everything, and you think, okay, are they the ones that were in the bushes? But then it gets more complicated. Yes, and so then in present day, Elliot finds the ticket. Dell never got the ticket, and this is why the pond kept sending me back.
Which I thought that was a cool reveal, I guess, of like maybe it was to reunite them, and that's why she kept going back in time.
Yeah, but again, so this is why Alice has never gone to 1814, is because this is the thing that she needs to fix.
Yeah, which I think was cool, but I think it would have had more impact if the fight that they had was bigger, because then the whole time I'm like, well, why didn't Dell just call her?
I agree.
I didn't think you wanted to see me. What?
Yeah, like I agree.
It's not a big enough fight. I think it needed to have a little bit more bite to it, but
I think so too. Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to reach out to you so many times. I didn't think I deserved you. I wanted to give you a chance to start your life without me. I mean, I can see maybe for a little bit, but not 17 years. I just no.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like, I guess I could see where like maybe Kat is like, well, I made this big grand gesture, but also like you gave the letter to somebody who's like clearly not going to help you. So all of it was like miscommunications.
Certainly more questions should have been asked. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But the thing that's always like a wrinkle in all of this is like, how much do various characters know about the time travel? Like, because they could always do that. They could always be like, oh, so-and-so knew. And that's the thing that gives the writers a lot of freedom of what they can do. I mean, I don't think Teen Kat knows about time travel, but like, but certainly Teen Elliot does. And I don't know, it's just like things get more and more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally.
So yeah, they have this moment, and then Elliot researches the antique coins, says they're worth a small fortune.
I was sort of like, you're not gonna ask her if she even wants to sell them? This was a sentimental thing that was given to her by a man that died.
Yeah. It's like, does he think, is this his way of like needling to see how important Thomas really is to Kat?
Yeah, maybe.
But
hey, use that to save the house.
Yeah. And then Dell, so Dell has some things with Sam, and then Kat is going to publish the book, and Elliot says to Kat, I should never have blamed you, but I just want you to choose me. So then we get a kiss between them.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear your words. I need time for them to sink in. So
she loves too many people.
Yeah, she really does.
There's too many people now. I'm like, forget about Elliot. There's too many other people in the mix. I think he might be too late.
I know. Well, I mean, it is kind of risky on their part, because now there's so many characters that whoever she picks, it's going to feel a little deflating, that, it's like Team Jacob and Team Edward, all over again. Like whichever one she's going to pick, somebody's disappointed.
But then doesn't she says something like, I mean, like, she says something about like being in love, but she didn't say who it was. And so this whole time I'm like, it could be any of these three people. Like she makes some
Yeah.
kind of specific comment about like being in love, and I'm like, well, wait, then who is it that she loves? Is it Thomas? Is it Susanna? Is it Elliot? And it made me feel
Yeah.
like it was not Elliot, but
I kind of agree. I feel like it's Thomas, but
I feel like it's Susanna.
you think but it might be Suzanne. Hey, it could
Hey,
be. It could
could
be like, so
be.
I was looking with old Hallmark guys,
Yeah,
not new
it could
Hallmark
be any
guys.
of them, honestly. I think it could be someone in 1814, though. I don't know. I think Elliot
Yeah,
might have missed his opportunity a
I
little bit.
agree. I mean, I definitely get somebody in 1814. I
Yeah.
really do. I really
Mhm.
do. So I don't know, it's crazy.
Mhm.
And so then we have this interesting wrinkle that they've done that so Alice has gotten the ring from Brady, the engagement ring that
Yes, Kat's engagement
and it's a
ring.
very distinct, unique gold ring with a pretty large diamond. Brady, I don't know how you afforded that.
Mhm.
A teenage Brady, um but anyway, so all of a sudden she sees Casey has the same ring. So
What? Like,
what?
it's, well, first of all, I feel like they made that, like, I didn't know what was happening at first when they zoomed in on that necklace, and I was like, what was that connected to? Because that was such a smaller plot point, and Casey hasn't had like such a big role that I had to go back and be like, what was that? What are we referring to? Oh, the ring, the ring. Could this be like not actually a Goodwin ancestor and more like Alice's daughter time traveling from the future? That's what I thought.
Casey's Casey B
Be Kat's
uh,
daughter from be Alice's daughter from the future?
what?
What did you think?
Oh my
Why do
gosh,
you
I
think
didn't
she
even
had the
think of
necklace?
that. It didn't even cross my mind.
Why do you think she had the necklace then? Because I'm like,
I
that's like
don't
Alice's
know.
necklace.
I'm like, but I mean, obviously, it like makes no sense because something can't like matter can't exist in two places at the same time. Like what? Like, you start to get that space time continuum was like really
Yeah.
messing like with, but like, so they both have the same item at the same time. Is like what? But
Yeah.
um, I didn't even think about that Casey could be. I mean, maybe partly because they don't look anything like Alice at
Yeah.
all.
But she said she was a Goodwin ancestor, right? Like her grandfather was a Goodwin.
Yeah.
But so why would she
Yeah.
have the necklace though?
It's we didn't get any clues. So it's crazy.
Hmm.
How why would she have that ring? Because the ring, I mean, why would they have that ring? Because the ring wasn't, I don't recall when Brady gives it to Kat, him saying this is like a family ring,
Or to
right?
Alice.
Did he? No,
Al
to when he gives it to, you see this proposal scene
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
when he first gives it to Kat. I
Hmm.
don't remember him saying like this is a family ring or something like that.
Yeah, I
Maybe
don't
he
think
did,
that
but
either. But then they give the ring to Alice to like represent their love,
uh-huh.
former love, and like to be like, it's you, you're our
Oh my
greatest achievement or
gosh.
whatever. But so then why would Casey be wearing that same necklace unless it's her daughter from the future or
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know. I'm
it's
like
a
I think
good
of it's
theory. I didn't
daughter
even
from the
think of
future.
that, but I had no idea. I was just like, what? What is going on?
Yeah, like
Um,
passes it on or I mean I mean if she is a time traveler, she can't be a good win unless there's something with the good wins. Something weird with them too.
yeah,
I don't know.
it could
It's
be
too,
interesting
it's
because
too many
I
things
mean,
at
it would
a
be. I'm very curious to know too. Is the pond the only place to time travel in this world? So far, it's the only like real hint we've gotten, but it seems unlikely that it would be the only place. So I wonder if they're going to introduce any other port keys,
Oh, mm,
coming up. It could be interesting.
I don't
But
even know. Yeah, there's so many places they can go, especially since we're still trying to figure out what the
yeah.
lore is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I guess we do know that Casey is non-binary. Could
Oh,
could they
I
be
remember that.
could
Okay.
they be could they be like a future relationship
I was thinking that
with
too.
Alice?
Could that be like a future, and maybe Alice gave them the necklace and it's a sign of like love, but maybe they're also, but maybe that's still like further in the future. No, but they're like the same age, so that wouldn't make sense unless that was like recent and she's only time traveled back like a few weeks or something.
Yeah, or she was given it by either, or they were given it either by Alice at some future date
Something
or hmm
like maybe Alice gave them the necklace to be like, this is gonna be a sign, like this is how you're gonna like signal me about something.
yeah,
I don't
like
know.
in the future they're in love or something.
Or maybe they're working on a some uncovering some other plot together.
Yeah, I could
I
see
don't
that.
even.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
It's hard because yeah, she has like it's hard because they haven't been in the season that much.
Yeah.
Barely. Anyway,
Mm.
it's very interesting. So then we have this scene with Elliot destroying the wall because we find out that it wasn't his dad who made the
The hole
punch
in
in
the
the wall. It was him. And so he basically says, break down the wall, and
Move
so he
on.
does.
Yeah, he
And
doesn't want to. I guess he kept it right because he wanted it as simple as to not be like his
yeah,
dad. And he's like, now I'm gonna break
yeah.
free. We're breaking free.
And so then big surprise, Jacob appears
That
in the pod.
what? Why? I needed some other scene in there because I was like, why is he all of a sudden just? And I thought maybe this was a dream sequence or something at first because I'm like, why did he just decide to do this?
Yeah. I mean, frankly, I'm a little surprised that the pond took him to 2024 because I was thinking, I was like, I bet you the pond is going to take him to 1999 and he'll be back at that, spot where he, was lost and
That would have been interesting as a
yeah.
but I guess in real life he would have still existed in 2024, so maybe that's why he can technically go back there.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Because
Yeah.
like so then so then can they travel to the future as long as they've existed in that time or will exist in that time?
Well, see, at first I was confused because they have this little like dream thing where you see young Jacob coming out of the house. And so I thought, oh, is he in 1999? Are they both in 1999? But it was like, I think that's just a dream. I think they are in 2024.
Yeah, I think it's, they've been doing a lot of those like
With
daydreaming
Colton, yeah.
moments, like, reminiscing. And sometimes I think they can get a little confusing of like, wait, what's real?
Right. Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I'm like, how does that work? So then, like, if they can do that, then Alice can time travel back to like 20, up to 2030 or something because she's gonna exist then, technically, right?
See, that's what you'd think, but I I felt yeah, so that's what's confusing
I'm confused.
because that's why I thought that they would take him back to 1999, not 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. But so then you have him
Oh wait,
saying,
one more thing. I thought it would be more impactful if, when all that stuff was going on and they needed to get him out anyway because he was going to be killed by all these guys. That seemed like the go-to to be like, well, just go back. The fact that now they're like, everyone's fine, but my friends all convinced me I should just go anyway for fun and check it
yeah,
out.
that's a
I'm
good
like,
point. That's
I think it would
true.
have made more sense if they were like, oh crap, like we need
Yeah.
to get him out of here for safety. Travel back now, I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's true. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, a
I
little bit
agree.
of a cop out there, I thought, but
Yeah. But then
Mhm.
he says Thomas is alive. He had on armor. He's saved. So yay for all of us, Team Thomas.
He traded
Uh,
a box of rum for a case of rum for
yeah,
armor.
that's right. He's because he's just the best like that.
Mhm.
And she says I could have loved you. And yeah, it's good. And then so then Jacob he sees himself, he uses the scene, sees himself leaving the house.
I will say at that point, I also was like, does all time exist at once? Like,
Yeah, it
is
was
it
a
like
lot
a
going
drop
on.
in the pond and like I don't know.
That's why I was like, is this 1999?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but then you have this scene where Colton, you have Colton at the campfire and with Jacob, and Colton is there, and
Watching
he's
from the
the one in the
bushes.
bushes. Oh my gosh, I knew that he was a time traveler, and he is, and I died, and I was just like, oh my gosh. So
I'm
he's known this whole time.
I just don't understand though, because like, so then is he really dead? But if he's not really dead, but then like, so can you
It's just like,
exist?
which timeline is he? Because there's got to be. See, this is where it's going to get like super meta-y, because there's going to be timelines where where he is able to save himself, and then other timelines where he's not, and things are going to get like really messy,
I'm confused.
right?
I don't get it. But then also, right, we see young Colton in what year was that?
Because
What
let's
year?
say, like, so we have a timeline, right? And
Mhm.
Kat goes back,
Mhm.
and the accident happens, which it wouldn't have happened if she hadn't gone back, right?
Oh, but I guess it would
Well,
have still happened. It just wouldn't have been her, right? Because they can't change the future or they can't change the past. So like there would have been an accident, it just wouldn't have been her, or it always was going to happen regardless. I don't know.
because so then, but now you have a timeline where Colton can know that he's going to die, and so if he recognized Kat, so that makes me think that he knew that was going to happen. So if there was another timeline where he either went back and stopped it, or that he could make like
Took
a
his own
whole new
place.
like jutting off of the like flat
What if he
timeline,
took his
right?
own place?
Because couldn't he go back and be like, okay, I'm going to make that not happen? But if that was the case, why wouldn't he have gone back and tried to find Jacob?
Maybe he has been. Maybe that's why. Maybe he's been time traveling this whole time looking for him and hasn't found him.
I mean, if why wouldn't the pond takes you where you need to go? Why wouldn't the pond take him to
Because the
1814?
pond orchestrates it all and
The
wants the
pond is
story.
mean.
The pond does it for the plot.
Oh my gosh. So like, yeah, so it would be, so we're going to find out for sure where Colton has gone, what
Mhm.
he's tried to change, what he's doing. And it's wild. It's wild. I was just like, what?
Well, and then that very last scene like shook me because what year are we in where we see like a young child Colton with like his grandmother
Yes.
explaining the pond to him, so she knows it all. She's like, it takes you where you need to go, but you need to stay here for now. Like, what does she know? And like,
Because
what year was that?
she says, why, Grandma? I want to try. You just have to be patient. And so she's showing, and we got that in I think it was the pilot we saw a young boy with an older woman, and we thought that was Rebecca Landry from 1814. But it might just, I don't know, maybe Colton's from 1814. We don't even know.
Was that 1814 or is it further back?
Well, I mean, it could be 1790, which is when Jacob first got there.
Oh no, because if they've already existed there, right? They're the ones that started the family, right? Like Jacob arriving there and being the glue that helped them stay there after they lost their baby, right? So they had to already live there. So that means that it has to be after 1814, right? Because clearly this has to be Landry's, because they're the ones with the connection to the pond, that, there was no Landry's there before 1814, right? So it has to be after.
Because we know that Jacob doesn't stay in 1814 because he's not on any of the records anywhere.
Then
he comes back, and that's why he's not on anything. He's not in anywhere. But it still doesn't answer the question of like, what is Colton doing? Is he from the past?
What if
was that grandma from like way in the back? Way in the past?
The grandma is Susanna?
Oh my gosh.
What if the grandma is
Susanna?
And Jacob and Susanna, before he left, I don't know, they did whatever because that's what they had to do. And then he leaves, but now Susanna's there, and she sort of has like the witchy vibes going on. Maybe she's like out the pond, and now Colton is technically Elliot's like great something grandfather. And so that there really is, but then that messes things up and makes it kind of creepy because then people are related.
But what if Susanna is the one who creates the pond? Like from her, like whatever.
But it already existed before Susanna.
It's right? I mean, because people went back before her. So I guess that. But I mean, there has to be a point where the pond becomes magic, right?
Yeah. But then where was Colton and his grandmother in this timeline? Like, I need to know that.
Well, and we're gonna find out. So the pond only takes you where you actually existed, right? So if Colton is from the past,
I guess he can't be that far back then because he wouldn't have been alive, right? He can't be like that far back. Like it has to be semi close to the 90s.
But why did it take Jacob to 1790 if he?
Well, because if Colton grew up, like let's just say it was, I don't know, 1814. We don't know what the time period is because they didn't tell us. Like
right. Oh, right.
If he grew up there, he wouldn't have been able to go all the way back to 1999 or whatever year.
Yeah, you're right.
So it has to be closer to the 90s, maybe. Oh my God, we're gonna need to like make a timeline graph. Okay, so I take away that he's like related to Elliot, but like something happens. People start learning the knowledge of the pond between 1814, I feel like, and the 90s.
Yeah. I do think that Colton has spent time in the past. I mean, I know he's a time traveler. We know that now, of course, but I think he spent like serious time.
Well, and also wasn't he in 2024? Wasn't in 2024 we saw a shadowy figure guy, and that's the guy that I was like, oh, I thought that whole time it was maybe like an evil Goodwin, but like that wouldn't make sense. But like maybe he's allowed to travel to 2024 because he technically would have still existed then if he didn't die. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
oh my gosh.
Because if Colton is, I mean, if there's a time, if Colton goes back and prevents his death in a timeline, so there's one timeline where Kat goes back, causes the death, and he dies. But if there's another timeline where then now Colton knows that's going to happen, and then he goes, and so if there's and stops it from happening, could he be alive in 2024?
Because we do see a shadowy guy, right? in 2024, and we're
Yes.
like, who is that? And that has to be Colton then, from him being, shadowy in this episode.
Yeah. So I think there's a way that.
But also, he wouldn't. Not everyone's been like traumatized because of all this. Can they really? Maybe now we've like, it's like there's a big web of tangles of wires, and now we've like taken them out, and now can he like fix it so that they can be a real family again? Also,
Well,
what
so,
is
'cause they
Dell's
got
reaction
Jacob
gonna be
back.
to Jacob? What is that? What's her reaction gonna be to that?
Oh my gosh.
He's
Yeah.
coming in like 1814 clothes. I'd be like, girl, you're crazy. This is a man from like the Renaissance fair.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, his clothes weren't like super, super archaic looking. Like but still enough that you'd be like, that's different.
Yeah.
Oh
my gosh.
Jacob went and became a member of a cult or something.
Right? Yeah, well, they're gonna have to tell her everything, and they have all the proof now, and they can take her back in time to see Colton, to see, I don't know, other things in the 1800s. Like they could take her back if she's like open to it, unless she thinks they're crazy and she, like, I don't know, doesn't believe them despite all their proof. But like, I'm telling you, when this episode finished, I was like, the whole time I was screaming at my computer, like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Ah!
Yeah.
Like,
same.
oh my God. Like, I don't, and there's so many theories of what we can like dive into. I have no idea. I don't know. I'm lost. There's too many reveals.
Yeah. So it ends with like I said, Colton says, why, Grandma? I want to try. You just have to be patient. But what does that mean?
Yeah, I wonder if that's like, I don't know, maybe like, I mean, if he's an adult, how old do you think he was in 1999? Like 40?
Yeah, something like that.
So what's 1999 minus 40?
59.
So do you think like that what we saw, like it looked old. I thought it looked really old. Like I didn't think
that's the thing. I was like, is Colton from the past? Because it looked kind of
like it didn't.
I was like, is this
like
Rebecca Landry? That's what my thought was, that it was Rebecca Landry, but yeah, why would it have taken?
Unless there's all these rules that we don't know about the pond, and he knows them, and like he knows how to work them,
true.
and we have no idea. And Elliot's about to be schooled and everything he thinks he knows. Yeah, because it looked like the 1800s or something later than the 60s.
Like her nightgown that she was wearing kind of looked sort of old-fashioned.
Yeah.
We don't know.
I love it though. This is how I felt when I was watching that episode in season 1 with the car accident. I was like,
yeah.
And that's how I felt watching this episode too. I think it really turned the season around, where like it was still a good season, but like this hit the nail.
It's true. I absolutely agree. In fact, one of our reps, Maria, who we've at Hallmark, has been great. I messaged her after, because she knows I've been kind of like on the season, and I was like, that finale, that it really did. It turned it around, and it just left me with so many questions, and I feel like it's the kind of thing that they can only pull off so many times. You can only do this to your audience so many times, so they have to start giving, I think, more answers. They have to get some answers next season.
Well,
yeah. So
I feel like there's no way that they like can't address all these things they just brought up now in next season. Like, and I think if anything, that will give them more to jam pack in, because like I said, I feel like sort of like episodes 5 through like 7, 8 started getting really slow, where like we're getting answers, but it was very paced out, really long. Like now they can give us a punch like this episode every episode if they wanted to in the next season.
Because there's only 10, so there's really not enough time to like waste on
like you
filler
really
episodes.
Deliver.
Yeah.
I want to feel like this, where I'm screaming every week. That's what I want to feel.
Yeah. Well, we talked about a lot of different things going on, so we want to hear what you think in the comments. There's so many different interpretations, different things, and I'm sure you all listening notice things that we didn't notice, just like Kristen noticed things I didn't notice, and back and forth and vice versa. And so we want to hear your thoughts in the comments, and you can listen to all of our The Way Home content. I'll put the playlist in the description. And thanks so much for doing this, Kristen. I think you were on the premiere recap, so that's kind of fun that we had both sides. But I know you've done a bunch of Way Home interviews and things like that. Like, how do people find your content?
Yeah. You can find all my stuff at popcultureplanet.net, which is my site, or on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/kmaldo. That's KAYMALDO. And I'm Kmaldo pretty much everywhere. Honestly, like, I've been getting such great responses too on my interviews with the cast. Like, people are really invested in the show, and I'm so excited because I feel like this show is so underrated, and there's so many cool reveals and things that they're doing that, like, I can't wait for people to see even more. I'm so excited for season 3. So, and thank you for bringing me on to talk about this craziness.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was very, very fun. You can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod, Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. I really appreciate that. We had this whole thing with the iPhone update that messed up all the podcasts. So if you could leave your ratings and reviews, please, please, please. And if you are watching YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our Patreon group and merch store, and so you can check that out. And thanks again. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.